Now, as we start exploring names of muscles here, I'm going to give you a few short tips here about how muscles are named and a few of the Latin terms here that are going to be used to help you identify the muscles. This will give you hopefully some help here when you start thinking about what the muscles do. For example, some muscles are named by the direction the fibers run. For example, the rectus femoris. Rectus means straight, so rectus femoris is the straight muscle fibers of the femoral area. The other term that we use many times is the relative size of the muscle. Is, for example, if it's large, they might say maximus, like gluteus maximus, large muscle. Many muscles are named by their location. For example, named by their location, name for the bones they lay on. For example, the temporalis muscle lies over the temporal bone. Some bones are identified by the number of origins. Now, an origin is the point of which the muscle has very little movement. It's basically the stationary point. Now, since all joints are going to move a little bit, I've always told my students to remember that the origin is the less movable point than the insertion. The insertion is the main part that moves. So how many origins do you have? Okay, so the biceps, 2 heads, you have 2 origins. The triceps, 3 heads, you have 3 points of origin. Now, some are really complicated names here go by the location of the muscle's origin and insertion. For example, the sternocleidomastoid muscle. It attaches to the sternum, the mastoid process, and the clavicle, sternocleidomastoid. Some are named for the shape of the muscle. For example, deltoid. Deltoid means triangular, and that big deltoid muscle on your shoulder has a triangular shape. Finally, we might list them by the action of the muscle. For example, in our class, we're going to deal with most of the, just call the hands, muscles that move the fingers and hands, flexors and extensors. So you might have a name like extensor digitorum longus. Okay, basically a muscle that's going to extend your finger, and it's a long one compared to the others. Now, all muscles are based, all these shapes, maximus, minimus, brevis, longus, these are all based relative to the muscles. So we don't have any definite length here as to what's going to be called maximus or minimus. It's just basically with the early autonomous here we're looking at and how they describe the muscles.